Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today, as usual, man. You guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, and holding the standard, guys. And in this video, we're going to talk about just that, how the NBA All-Star Game used to be the standard. It used to be the standard across all sports, ladies and gentlemen. It was the NBA All-Star Game, man, and the NBA All-Star Weekend. Because it wasn't just the game, it was the entire weekend was the standard. And now we know that the NBA All-Star Weekend has become an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke, man. It's all a gimmick now. Everything's a gimmick. Where back in the day, it used to be the standard. And some of you guys asked me to do a video on my favorite All-Star games. And I wanted to just do a video in general about the All-Star Weekend and how it used to be the standard for, like I said, across all sports, guys. And talk about some of the things and some of the favorite moments or favorite All-Star games or the games that I enjoyed, guys. And we just talk about the overall All-Star game overall. And I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states, man. Much respect to everybody out there. Shout out to Owen Smith. For asking me to speak on my favorite NBA All-Star games. And he's been a true supporter of my channel. So shout out to Owen Smith. Thank you very much for requesting this video. And like I said, I was going to do this video as far as the NBA All-Star Game being the standard across all sports, man. And you guys know what to do, man. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. Excuse me, guys. You guys know my throat be getting jacked up sometimes, man. So, yes, guys, like I said, man, shout out to Owen Smith, man, and shout out to a bunch of you people out there. I know you guys have asked me about my favorite All-Star games or asked me to talk about the All-Star games in general. And I've done a video. I did a video, I don't know, a couple months back. I don't remember how long it was. And I told you guys, if you know my channel, the 1992 NBA All-Star Game is my favorite NBA All-Star Game moment. It's my favorite NBA All-Star Game, guys. And I've told you guys, growing up, it was Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley. Like, those are probably my favorite three players that I remember watching growing up. Those are my favorite players. If I had to narrow it down to three of my favorite players growing up, those would probably be them. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, man. And in 1992, the show that Magic Johnson put on in that 1992 All-Star Game, guys, I mean, like I said, I get goosebumps just thinking about it sometimes, man, because it was special. Magic Johnson was special on that day. You couldn't have wrote it better. Like I said, if it was a movie, you couldn't have wrote the script any better than that. The way that Magic Johnson played in that game, the performance that he put on, hitting those 3 points at the end, I mean, the dude, like I said, it was just magical. It's really the only way Magic was magical that day. That was a day that Magic went higher than Air Jordan. Magic was higher than Air Jordan in that day. That was Magic's day, man. And he was sensational. Like I said, he delivered right on cue because he's Magic Johnson, and that's what he did. And to me, that's the greatest game, the greatest All-Star Game memory of my childhood, 1992, guys. That was just special. So for me, if I had to pick a game, 1992 would be my favorite moment game. Like I said, when Magic came back, remember, he was voted by the fans into the game. And I said, it wasn't just that he was there. It was the performance he put on. He was going one-on-one with Isaiah Thomas. He was going one-on-one with Michael Jordan. I mean, like I said, it was just really special, that moment. But to me, you know, when I think about the All-Star games, and we're talking about the standard that was the NBA All-Star game, the NBA All-Star weekend, I don't really have like a favorite game. Like I said, that 92 is my favorite moment. But as far as the All-Star games are concerned, this is what we're talking about when I'm telling you guys about the standard and how these guys approached the game. It's the approach, the mindset of these guys. And I've been rewatching some of the old All-Star games from the early 90s. I was watching 1990, 1991, and I rewatched 1993, those All-Star games from the early 90s. And immediately, what I noticed off the jump, as opposed to the current All-Star performances that we've seen, like the current state of the All-Star games and how bad it's gone, the one thing you notice immediately is the competitiveness of the game, is the amount of defensive intensity that the guys played with. And to give you guys an example of what I'm talking about, I believe it was the 1993 All-Star game in Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, where Karl Malone and John Stockton were co-MVPs of the All-Star game. I believe it was that All-Star game, if I remember correctly, there were 3 shot clock violations in the first quarter, guys. In the first quarter, there were 3 shot clock violations. You would never see anything like that, guys, ever in an All-Star game on this current era. You'll never see 3 shot clock violations in the first quarter, guys. But you saw that in the 93 All-Star game, and partly due to what? The intensity and the effort that these guys gave on the defensive end. Also, what you'll notice is, like, once again, that relates to the defensive end, is the effort these guys gave, is the amount of blocks that you'll notice in the first half of these games. Because this is the thing, guys, and I've told you guys this in the past. The NBA All-Star game, the way these guys used to approach it, that I remember, is that they were always competitive, they were always giving effort, but they would ratchet it up in the fourth quarter. The last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, they would ratchet it up, and it would become a straight up regular season game, or even a playoff game. The intensity would turn up. That's how these guys approached it. The first quarter, the first half, these guys are going out there, put on a show for the fans, put on a show for the people. Because the NBA All-Star Weekend was always supposed to be a celebration of the players' talents for the fans, for the people. That's why the NBA All-Star Weekend was there, for the players to showcase their talents for the fans. All right? For some reason, we've lost track of this. Once again, the fans do not matter to these players anymore. Whereas back in the day, these guys actually cared about putting on a show for the fans. So when we talk about the standard of the NBA All-Star Weekend, the All-Star Game itself, let's think about the slam dunk contest. Let's think about this for a second. Once again, the standard has been lowered. Back in the day, when you think about the 80s and the 90s, the All-Star Game, right? You think about the slam dunk contest. The slam dunk contest, guys, that was a prestigious event. The best players, the best dunkers in the league, the best athletes, they went out there and competed, right? The best players. So you had a Dr. J out there. You had a Michael Jordan out there. You had a Dominique Wilkins out there. You had a Kobe Bryant out there. You had guys like Ray Allen, Clyde Drexler. Like, these guys competed in the slam dunk contests. These were some of the best players. They weren't dunking the slam dunk contest. These guys competed in the slam dunk contest. Guys like Larry Johnson and Shawn Kemp, right? The premier players that could dunk the ball, they showed up. Now, maybe they didn't necessarily win, but they showed up to compete in the contest. So that kept the contest, right? It kept the prestige behind it. When you have the best players and some of the greatest athletes competing in the contest. But what happened, guys, in the mid-2000s with the slam dunk contest? You had someone like LeBron James decide that he was not going to do the slam dunk contest. And that opened the door for the rest of these clowns to follow him and decide, oh, I'm not going to do the slam dunk contest. Why do I have to do it? I don't have to do it. What's the point of me doing it? And that's how the conversation has gone ever since now. So if you criticize someone for not doing the slam dunk contest, you'll hear people say, oh, why do they have to do it? Why do they have to do it? It's not a big deal. Why did he have to do it? He didn't have to do it. What do you mean, why do you have to do it? Because that's the way the history of the game went. Once again, you guys are not keeping intact the history of the game, the integrity or the standard of the All-Star Game. That was the standard that was upheld by the other previous greats. Michael Jordan didn't say, oh, why do I got to do a slam dunk contest? He went out there and put on a show for the fans, right, to showcase his talents. Dominique Wilkins, Dr. J, Vince Carter, Kobe Bryant, Clyde Drexler, Ron Harper, Ray Allen. Like, all these high flyers over the years, they went out there and competed. Jason Richardson, right? Desmond Mason, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, right? Andre Iguodala, Dwight Howard, Nate Robinson. Like, all these guys that went out there to compete, they went out there to compete for the prestige of the slam dunk title. Because it was a prestigious event, and it was always supposed to be done by the great players that were known for being high flyers. So once again, LeBron James took away from the greatness that was a slam dunk contest when he refused to play year after year after year, but still decided to do a skills challenge that exposes him. And once again, it shows that he's a coward and he was afraid to go out there and compete. But when we talk about the NBA All-Star Game, the NBA All-Star Weekend, and I'm telling you guys, it used to be the standard across all sports. It was. The NBA All-Star Weekend was the greatest All-Star Weekend for any sport. It was better than Major League Baseball's All-Star Weekend with the Home Run Derby. It was better than that. It was better than NFL with the Pro Bowl. It was. And the Pro Bowl used to be legit back in the day. Now the Pro Bowl is it's obsolete now because of the way that football, and I get it. The NFL, you can get injured very easy in the NFL. So there was really you think about the Pro Bowl and the way it was played. It was often done before the Super Bowl. So you wouldn't have the Super Bowl players on the Super Bowl teams in the Pro Bowl. But the Pro Bowl was a lot better than it was now. Now it's a joke. Like the NBA All-Star Game is a joke. But the NBA All-Star Weekend used to be the standard, right? It was better than the hockey All-Star Game and what they had going on. Like I said, better than Major League Baseball and football, the major sports. It was the NBA All-Star Weekend that was the standard. That was the bar. You had the All-Star Weekend with the slam dunk contest. I told you, everyone talked about the slam dunk contest. Everyone was hyped up for the slam dunk contest on Saturday night, man. Everyone was ready for it. The three-point shootout, that was another prestigious event. The three-point shootout. And then you had the All-Star Game on Sundays. And like I said, the All-Star Game was the culmination of the whole weekend. That was a celebration of the players' talents for the fans. Go back and watch some of these All-Star games from the 90s, guys. What you'll hear is going into these games, the players talking about wanting to win. The players talking about competing and how they want to win this year. And there were rivalries. You had the East versus the West. It was a legit rivalry. You guys remember when the All-Star Game, they changed the format to the team so-and-so versus team so-and-so. They had team captains. They ruined the entire integrity of the All-Star Game. And then they went back to it now, the East versus West. But you guys already ruined it. They've ruined the integrity of the game. It was always East versus West. That's the way it always should have been. And that was important because it was rivalries. When I talk to you guys about players staying on their teams for many, many years back in the day, for the most part, the great players, you can close your eyes and associate a player with a team. So when you have that kind of continuity and consistency, you build the rivalries in an All-Star game. You build them up. So Michael Jordan, right, was used to going against the Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson. They were never on the same conference, right? Patrick Ewing was always going against Hakeem Olajuwon and David Robinson, right? You had Alonzo Mourning on the Eastern Conference. Shaquille O'Neal was on the Eastern Conference for a couple of years there, and then he went to the West. Right? You had Clyde Drexler always on the West going against Michael Jordan on the East. Right? You had these matchups like that. This how it went down. You had Isaiah Thomas on the East. You had guys like Magic Johnson in the West. John Stockton in the West. These are the matchups. You had a Mark Price in the Eastern Conference all those years going against a Kevin Johnson in the Western Conference. A Gary Payton. Right? These are the matchups that you would have. Right, early on, you had Charles Barkley in the Eastern Conference those years on Philadelphia. He was going against Karl Malone every year in the All-Star Game. Remember, Charles Barkley went to the Phoenix Suns in 1993. But all those years prior, he was in the All-Star Game going against Karl Malone. So you had the matchups there. You had those rivalries. Right, you had the Boston Celtics guys, Larry Bird, right, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, going against Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the Western Conference All-Star team. Right? You had the Detroit Pistons All-Stars, right, versus the Lakers All-Stars. Right? You had Dr. J and Moses Malone on the East, right, going against these other guys. And you also had team matchups. You also had guys become teammates that weren't normally teammates. You had Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, right? You had that. You had Dr. J and Larry Bird, right? You had these matchups. Guys that were normally rivals are now playing with each other. But East Conference wanted to win. There was pride there. That's why these guys wanted to compete. Look at the foul calls, guys. I want you guys to go back over the last 3 or 4 All-Star games and look how many fouls were called in total. You might have had 3 or 4 fouls, guys, for the entire game. The entire game. You had guys fouling out. You had actual players fouling out in some of these all-star games back in the day. You're talking about 15 to 20 foul calls per game, guys, on each side. Now you have 3 or 4 fouls in total. That goes to the lack of effort, guys. That's glaring. I watched every minute of the past All-Star game, guys. This past All-Star game, I watched every minute of it, guys. It was an embarrassment. Embarrassment. I told you there were maybe 3 foul calls, if that. Everything was a 3-point chuck-up. No one played any defense. How many blocked shots in this past All-Star game? Maybe 2? I believe there were 8 or 9 in 1993 on the Eastern Conference alone. There were like 15 blocked shots in total. The effort. They were actually blocking shots. They weren't giving guys wide open layups, uncontested layups. They were fouling each other. They weren't trying to hard foul guys or cheap foul guys, but they were fouling still. They were still going out there giving that effort. There was still a rivalry there, which made the games really good to watch. You could go back and watch these All-Star games. 1990, 1991, 92, 93, 94, 95. Go back and watch these. 96, 97, 98. The early 2000s All-Star games. Remember, there was no game in 99. The early 2000s All-Star games, they were legit still. These guys gave the effort. They were going out there competing. Over the last 10 seasons, I don't know what the hell happened. The NBA All-Star games become a joke because the NBA players are a joke. They don't hold the same standard. They don't take it serious. The slam dunk contest has become obsolete. It's irrelevant. It ain't the same prestige level. It's just not the same. Now they have all these weird gimmick things going on, shooting stars, whatever it is called. Like the skills challenge has gotten weird. Like, come on, man. These are gimmick now. What we need is for these bigger, stronger guys, faster athletes, to go out there and compete in slam dunk contest. We got Matt McClung going out there. There's no knock on him. Much respect to him for going out there and doing his thing. But when people try to tell me that the guys today are bigger, stronger, faster, and Matt McClung is winning your slam dunk contest, you're selling a bunch of idiots. Because Matt McClung is not winning a slam dunk contest in the 90s or the 80s. He's not beating Michael Jordan or Dominic Wilkins or Dr. J. I mean, like, come on, man. So, guys, as you can see, man, the standard has completely fallen off. We know this. The NBA needs to get back to the standard. The All-Star game needs to go back to the way it used to be. It should always be East versus West. The guys should be competing in a slam dunk contest. The players, the guys, the stars need to come out and compete. Not just the role players and some of these bench guys. We want to see the stars go out there. And in the All-Star game, we want to see some effort. We want to see guys playing. When you watch the other All-Star games, it's not guys just chucking up three-pointers. Guys are posting up. They're playing their games. Guys are going up alley-oops. They're playing defense. They're moving the ball around. They're playing basketball. The All-Star game now is not basketball. It's literally a three-point contest being disguised as an All-Star game. No effort. They're not even putting on a show. It's not a show. The All-Star games back in the day were a show. That's why I said you could go back and watch them now. It's entertaining. These guys were trying to win. I remember in 1990 or 91? I can't remember. It was 91 or 90. Charles Barkley wanted to sit out the All-Star game. You know, I don't know where he was dealing with some minor injury. And he asked the NBA if he could sit out the All-Star game because Larry Bird was sitting out the All-Star game with an injury. So he was allowed to miss the All-Star game, Larry Bird. And we know Larry Bird was, falling apart in the early 90s. So Charles Barkley wanted to do the same thing, rest and recover for his injury. So the story goes that the NBA convinced him to play in the All-Star game. Yeah, well, Charles Barkley took it personal and went out there and went crazy and won the All-Star game MVP. He went out there and took it out on the NBA All-Star game and put on a show for the fans. And he won NBA All-Star MVP. I believe it was 91, if I'm not mistaken, guys. I can't remember if it was 90 or 91. So, I mean, these guys actually had, there was reasons why they were going out there. They were going to go out there with a purpose. And there was always a rivalry there. These guys had a point to prove. They wanted to put on a show for the fans, and they wanted to compete. They wanted to compete against each other. It's the competitive fire. That's what the All-Star game always showed you guys, that these guys were competing. There is no competing now. They're not competing. They're out there lollygagging. They're goofing around. The NBA All-Star game was always supposed to be a show for the fans. These guys are supposed to showcase their talents for the fans. Now it's a bunch of three-point chucking, guys walking around. I told you guys, there was a point, I believe the second half of the game, I don't remember one person sprinting. The entire second half of that game, no one sprinted. No one ran. They would just let them shoot threes, and guys were taking these goofy dunks. Not impressive at all. So if I had to say, what was my favorite All-Star game, I would say my favorite All-Star game moment was 1992 Magic Johnson. I've talked about it before, guys. But as far as the All-Star games go, there really was no favorite All-Star game per se, I guess. It was the fact that I appreciated all the All-Star games. Yeah, was some better than others? Absolutely. There were some better than others. Some were, like, in 92 was a blowout. The Western Conference blew these guys out in the second half. Once again, they put in a show, but it was still competitive. They were still going out there and playing the game. It was still basketball. But I remember in the 90s, Michael Jordan wanted to win those All-Star games. He wanted to win those things. These guys wanted to win. There was competitiveness there. And that's what we respected, and that's what I remember about the All-Star games, guys. The All-Star weekend was a show. It was a celebration of the NBA's talents for the fans, guys. For the fans. All-Star weekend. Now, it's an NBA All-Star week, and these guys don't go out there and compete. They don't go out there and do anything. They're out there, they just want more money. They just want to get more fame, but they don't want to go out there and put on a show for the fans, or even, like I said, compete for themselves. And the All-Star games got ruined. And now the NBA All-Star game is not the standard anymore. The standard has been completely fallen off. You guys know the facts, man. These are the facts here. Maybe you guys have a favorite All-Star game. Maybe you guys have a favorite All-Star game moment. Let me know. But I think we can easily see that the NBA All-Star game is not what it used to be. The weekend is not what it used to be. And that goes to the players. Their lack of mindset, their lack of competitiveness, and like I said, the fact that they don't even respect the fans enough to go out there and compete and really put on a show. They don't care about us anymore. This is why they talk down on us, and this is why, like I said, they'll go out there and lollygag like that. You guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.